Now, if you want your Terraria builds to be super authentic and atmospheric and literally reach for the stars, you want to know how to use all these fancy outer space themed materials, I will show you how you can integrate all of that to make a beautiful planetarium in Terraria. There's basically two sections to every planetarium we have in mind. One is the auditorium, and the other is the museum space stuff exhibits. As usual, we begin the build by looking at materials for the outer frame or background. In general, you want to use materials that are dark or look good in black paint. The immediate go-to is smooth granite painted black, or even unpainted works well as well. The dark material is gently flecked with bright stones, which makes it look really nice because the bright stones sort of represent like distant stars. Obsidian can work well as well, so can smooth marble painted black. You could even use gray brick, assuming you have 1.4.5 gray brick furniture. Another terrific one is actually crystal painted black or gray. Crystal block is fantastic because it adds a dim atmospheric shine, which doesn't distract too much from the centerpieces of the build. For the mechanical pillars or tech sections, you want to use something that also looks good painted black or dark, like crimtane, chlorophyte, any team block, and maybe adamant beams. You could also sprinkle in some meteorite, but meteorite brick has to be used sparingly because the orange outline will stand out no matter how you paint it. Next, for the starry background items, you're going to want wallpaper. Obviously, you want Starlit Heaven Wallpaper. The Christmas stars wallpaper looks really good here, but that's more of kind of a highlight item. You want both types of starry block and their respective walls, and you also want Snowfall block. The key creative element for any star chart, star map, or outer space themed megastructure in Terraria is going to be Starlit Heaven Wallpaper. That constitutes the background here. To animate the wallpaper, you overlace it with Snowfall block, deactuate the block, darkening it, and then paint it with shadow paint, essentially disappearing it into the background. The end result is this really neat, moving starlit background. I've used this many times in all of my sort of outer space themed builds. If you want to make something that looks kind of like a portal to outer space, this works too. You don't need to use a background at all. You can just have an empty background. You can just have the frame that's holding all of the planets and space structures, and the Ethereum monolith can be activated to create the starry background. Once you have your background picked out, you need to build the centerpieces. And so I use the 4 celestial fragment blocks here as the most natural planet materials. You can use anything though. Generally, you want to use any ore, any rock, any rocky looking material that naturally glows on its own or emits light. The different celestial fragments are the obvious choice. The other one that glows is meteorite. And then of course you have crimtane and demonite. Not all of the hard mode ores have a natural glow, but these ones do. Another one that does work pretty well is luminite. Luminite ore as well as luminite brick, though luminite brick is a little bit more high tech. What I ended up doing is sort of integrating both into this little planetoid. The luminite bricks have an extra shine because I put green gemspark block on the background, giving it an alien glow. The last part that I should mention is kind of the mechanical frame. Around the exterior of the amphitheater, you have these red screens. This is where the starry block kicks in. You can also use midnight confetti block, deactuated, painted whatever color. It creates the impression of a projector that's projecting the planets and the stars. And then the actual mechanical frame itself, this is where sort of like high-tech materials that I picked out earlier kick in, like chlorophyte and team block, to really remind us that this is still a mechanical structure. For the centerpiece, you want to use living fire block. The cool thing about this is that with all the living fire blocks in the game, you can paint them whatever color to make the sun any color. And like in real life, you have blue stars, yellow stars, red stars, white dwarfs. Any star type you want can be generated using living fire block. This section includes every other worldly material as an exhibit sort of along the ride. Obviously, this is where the starry walls come in very handy. They're a very good background material for this type of build. It looks good in any color, so you can paint it any color. You can set up different color themes. For the planetary exhibits themselves, you can reuse materials that were used in the amphitheater or auditorium sections, or you can add new ones and you can paint them different colors to create the idea of a different kind of material. I added meteorite, crimtate, and demonite all along shadow painted backgrounds, Aetherium, block, and luminite brick. Once you have them, you hammer them into weird shapes to create the impression that these are naturally sampled materials from somewhere. Also, any material that's sitting along a surface can be hammered to be in the shape of a pile. The last thing I should mention is the luminite brick. The luminite brick, since one of the updates has a lot of variants, we use meteorite brick as a soft highlight. These materials require a sort of special display case that's extra safe. The color of the meteorite should not distract from the material on display, and to do that you should paint it a dull color. The lighting across the entire structure should be relatively dim. You don't want too many chandeliers and lamps and stuff. I actually have all of the light sources turned off except for a couple torches. To give everything extra meaning and world building, you can add signs or announcement boxes with lore text. So this is an opportunity to sort of be creative. I came up with random lore that I stuck next to each display case, telling you about the planet that it's from and what's on that planet, what the planet is like. Midnight confetti or snowfall block also looks like a good sort of glass display case that's hiding some type of space dust. Yeah, those are the general building tips for building a kick-ass planetarium in Terraria. I like builds like this which integrate both kind of some otherworldly materials and some mechanical materials and some stone materials all at once. Crosses off a lot of the items that we need to cover for completionism. If you like this type of build, check out my other builds on Mr. Creamy's Terraria Completionism on the forums where everything is listed out. Check out my Phase 1 main world tour and other Phase 2 sections of Terraria Completionism. And stay tuned because we have a lot more Terraria stuff to come.